You heard me ask the question after that Women's March on Washington, what's next? Well, it turns out for many women, the next step is a big one, a run for office. Political organizations across the country say they've seen an explosion in the number of women looking to get into the game since then. And the recent silencing of Elizabeth Warren in the Senate has only added more fuel to what, as Stephanie Leyden reports, is a growing fire.
After years of thinking about it, Lori Lennon of Arlington decided the time is now. She's running for office.
It's been kind of boiling inside, and then once the election happened, that was the trigger.
Donald Trump's win, well, trumped every reason she had to put off her political career, a full-time job, a part-time consulting gig, and the fact she's a single mom.
I put my daughter to bed, and I woke up in the morning, and I had to tell her that Donald Trump was president. And the first thing she asked me was if we had to move. And I said, no, we don't move. We stay and we stand up for what's right.
Lennon is part of a nationwide trend among liberal-leaning women.
You don't know what people will say no to until you get them to a no.
They are signing up in record numbers for training courses like this one that teach Democratic women how to become politicians.
We had more applications in the first 3 days after the election than the entire period before that combined.
Ryan Olson says in order to accommodate the surge in interest, she doubled the size of the Emerge program in Massachusetts.
We are seeing women and people of color come out of the woodwork like never before.
Over the next 6 months, nearly 50 Massachusetts women will learn the fundamentals of running for office, everything from raising money to knocking on a neighbor's door.
Do you know anybody else that would be interested in voting for me?
The program aims to narrow what around here they call the political ambition gap, women being less likely than men to run for office. A big concern, female politicians face a double standard.
They care about how we dress, how we talk, how your family is. It's a different job description almost.
For a woman rather than a man.
Absolutely. A man, you just need to wear a suit and just sign up and that's it.
Stephanie Martins just launched her campaign for a city council seat in Everett. She's motivated by her own ambition, but also a sense that win or lose, she'll help build the political momentum of the women by her side.
We need to get together and become this strong group that will just get other women elected. Once we have this voice, I don't think they can stop us.
When they run, studies indicate women raise as much money as men. And they win more often. Stephanie Leyden, WGBH News.
And there's plenty of room for improvement, both locally and nationally. While women make up more than half the U.S. population, they account for only 19% of Congress. And here in Massachusetts, they make up just 26% of the state legislature. In fact, in the entire history of the state, only 196 women have ever held a seat on Beacon Hill, compared to, are you ready, more than 20,000 men. We've never had a woman elected governor, and just got our first female U.S. senator in 2013, Elizabeth Warren, and only 4 women have represented Massachusetts in the U.S. House. These are not numbers to be proud of, so where are we going wrong, and how do we go right? Joining me are 3 women doing their part. Hannah Kane is a Republican state rep from Shrewsbury. Good to see you, Representative. Shana Barnes is a Democratic city councilor in Brockton. Councilor, good to see you.
Thank you.
And speaking of councilors, Anissa Esaiva-George, a Democratic city councilor in Boston. Well, it doesn't matter what party you are in Boston. Good to see you all. Why is it so hard here, and what's the single greatest obstacle to electing women?
Well, I think the greatest obstacle is women don't consider themselves qualified to run.
Really?
We really need to change that.
What's the biggest problem, and what do you think is the greatest obstacle?
I agree with that. And also, sometimes we have to overprove ourselves. We have to come out first and talk about our qualifications. Another thing that's really difficult that I found difficult was fundraising. Just kind of separating people from their money is the hardest thing to do.
Harder than for men because of the so-called old boys network, or just hard in general and you're not used to that kind of thing?
Well, I wasn't used to it. I mean, I was very, very green when I came into the field in 2013. But I think it's harder for women, again, because of that qualification kind of idea that maybe, women are more emotional or something might go on.
Wait, that's how we see you, or how women who are thinking of running often see themselves?
I think it's a little bit of both.
Okay.
I think it's a little bit of both.
Representative, what's the greatest obstacle?
I think women, ruling themselves out instead of ruling themselves in. I mean, on average, you have to ask a woman to run 7 times before she seriously considers it.
Why is that?
And just for the record, you have to generally ask a man once or never,
if at all,
because they've
exactly.
already right. So,
but why is it? Why do you need to go 7 or 3 or 5? What's the deal?
Because I think a lot of women don't necessarily see themselves in that arena. And I think, I spend a lot of time going into schools and talking to young girls in particular, talking about the fact that I'm in elected office and you could run one someday too. They need to see role models. They need to see people serving.
You know what's one of the most depressing statistics that I read to add to it? I mentioned 26% of the place you serve, legislature, are women. You know what's worse than that? It's been flat for 2 decades. If you're making a little bit of progress, you say, so what happened? There was this mini spurt. There was a time we had virtually no women in Congress. Now we have 4. We've had 4. It's not exactly a huge number. We have a number of women in statewide office. Why is it leveled out on the legislative front? Do you have any idea?
Well, I don't think it's just the legislative front. I mean, if you look at business as well, we were talking earlier, the number of women who are on boards in Massachusetts is low. The number of women who are in executive offices in Massachusetts is low. I don't see it as just a legislative.
You know what a 0-0 is? A 0-0 is a public firm that has no woman in the executive suite or on the board of directors.
And I think of the top 100, there's 19 or 20 of them who do not have that. And so, again, I don't see this just as a legislative issue. I think we have work to do, and I think both things. I think when we have more women in office, we'll see more women in business, quite frankly.
One of the things, though, Councilor, that I have to say, what I heard through the years. I haven't heard so much lately, but I've heard through the years, we have to, it's how we dress, how we look, how we this. To me, that's almost BS in 2016. We have a president who was ridiculed for his hair, for his speech, for his inability to have his lack of sense of humor. So hasn't the playing field leveled? Essentially, almost everybody gets ridiculed running for public office. This is one of the reasons I think nobody's crazy about doing it. So isn't there a more level playing field, or women still have the shorter end of the stick?
We absolutely stitle have the shorter end of the stick. Just for what you just said, so the current president, he was criticized for the way he talks, things he said, just, overall, I feel inappropriateness for a candidate running for the highest office in the land. But women are still being judged on how we dress. Maybe too much makeup, not enough makeup. Your hair is this, your hair is that.
I make fun of his tie going down to his crotch almost every single week on
But from my perspective, women get it more.
One of the things that I hope this training works, frankly, and I hope most people out there, whoever you are, thinks in a democratic state we should have more Republicans, balance is good, and more women, so balance is good there too. But when I hear people say the great motivation was the election of Donald Trump, what I say to myself is, wait a second. Having a qualified woman running for president wasn't enough of a motivation, but all of a sudden you woke up now and you really have it? That's hard for me to buy.
Well, I think the greatest motivation I've seen, especially since the election in November, is a woman's desire to get involved locally, realizing the importance of local municipal elections, local state rep races, how important those are to the quality of life that women experience, that families experience, but really that anyone experiences, whether it's in the city of Boston and city of Brockton or in the Commonwealth.
One of the things, it seems to me that it's not just women running, it's women voting for women who are running. Here's some interesting statistics. First, the good news on the Hillary Clinton woman for president front. 94% of black women voted for Clinton, 69% of Latino women. That's the good news. Let's go to the bad news. White women overall, 52 to 43 Trump. White women without a college degree, 62 to 34 Trump. Let's go to the Republican representative. How do you explain that? And by the way, I'm sure you were not a Hillary Clinton fan, and I'm not suggesting every woman should vote for a woman, but in light of the kinds of things Donald Trump said about women, in addition to everything else, how do you explain these stunning numbers? White women without a college degree, almost 2 to 1 for Donald Trump. How do you explain that?
I think some people voted for what they saw as priorities. I mean, absent sort of the ridiculousness of it, they voted for what they saw as a priority in their life. But at the end of the day, I think one of the things that's important for women to understand who might be considering running for office is the fact that when they run, they win at the same percent that men win at.
Is that so?
It's about 50%, yes. And so, again, I think, there's a better job that can be done by putting women such as ourselves out there and talking to women about running. I think both parties can do a better job of that, just in terms of not going out there to sort of gin people up, but to go out and legitimately have conversations about what it means to run, what it means to serve. Because the reality is, as women, if we're not in the room, we're not part of the policy decision making.
Should women vote for women because they are women? I mean, part of Hillary Clinton's pitch was, I'll be the first woman president, the unspoken notion. So that's pretty much a good enough reason in addition to everything else. Should they vote for women
of
their gender?
So I've always believed in everything, whether it's voting, hiring someone, you choose the best person who comes forward. And I think we do a disservice when we vote just based on gender.
Okay, so
you're assuming, though, that when women run, they are less qualified. Right. That they don't deserve
I'm not assuming it at all.
They don't deserve that vote. And I think it's important for us to talk to other women. I think it's incredibly important to talk to young girls about running.
Yeah.
I'm the mother of 4 boys. I think it's important for boys to see women running and representing and serving.
Okay, you have 15 seconds each. What's the one primary reason why you succeeded where other women have failed? Starting with you.
I'd say a big difference for me was participating in the Emerge program. I ran in 2013 and lost. Took the Emerge program and won in 2015.
I'd love to hear that. How about you, Shin?
I definitely think that the message that I brought forth to the people of Brockton, it resonated. I'm a Brockton girl, grew up there, and that was very familiar for them to see. And also, I believed in what I was saying. I had a very strong platform, and I was able to get it through to the constituents.
You're one of the 26%. Why'd you succeed?
Because I ran, and because I asked people to vote for me. And, again, as we've mentioned earlier, sometimes people don't do that. They don't put themselves in the arena, and then they're afraid to ask people to do something for them. We can't be afraid to do that.
Representative, it's good to see you.
You too.
Thanks so much. Hope they're more like all of you. Councilor, good to see you.
Good to see you as well.
Councilor, good to see you.